history.
I remember watching him and thinking, that's the kind of journalist I want to be.
36 years of doing what he loved.
Bruce is a natural.
Reporting Utah's stories.
I don't know anybody that loves a good election more than Bruce Lindsay.
His night in front of the lens one last time.
It looks so easy, but it's hard, and Bruce is so good at it.
Bruce Lindsay, a career celebrated.
This is KSL, your news specialists at 10.
Good evening. Tonight we have a very special newscast. It's Bruce's last broadcast, and we'll be paying tribute to him throughout the show. But first, appropriately on your last night, we have some breaking news.
Let's do news. Police have just captured a fugitive who was shot at by an officer and who's been on the run since last weekend. They say the man tried to run police officers down, but his family tells a different story. News specialist Sandra Yee is live with a report. Sandra.
Bruce, that man's family lives in this neighborhood. They're speaking out in his defense. 21-year-old John Samora was a wanted man believed to be armed and dangerous. Salt Lake City police found Samora at his family's home tonight, which is in the neighborhood of 1200 West, 500 South. He surrendered peacefully. Officers from multiple law enforcement agencies have been looking for him since this weekend. That's when police say Samora tried to run down an officer while trying to avoid arrest. An officer fired a shot. Police say Samora also led them on a chase, but when he reached high speeds and ran red lights, they called that chase off.
Running from the police, ramming the police, yes. We felt that he is a dangerous individual and is someone that we actively went after.
But Samora's family says he is innocent. They were very emotional tonight, gathering outside the house to console each other. They say young children were in the home and scared when police came to arrest their brother. They say Samora was planning to turn himself in tonight. They say this weekend he acted in self-defense.
He feared for his life like anybody else would. It's either fight or flight, and he ran like anybody else would that has a gun pulled on him. He's not a dangerous person, you know? I mean, they make him out to be a killer, and it's not even what they make it seem.
Samora was taken to the Utah State Prison on a parole violation. He's facing more charges in relation to that officer-involved shooting, including aggravated assault on an officer and fleeing. Back to you.
All right, Sandra, thank you.
Fire crews in southern Utah have been stretched today. They've been putting out brush fires that burned awfully close to homes. News specialist Alex Cabero is live in St. George tonight, where one of those fires made it within a few feet of a house. Alex.
That's right, Bruce, and with as windy as it was out here in St. George earlier today, those flames spread very fast. The fire is out now, though, here in St. George, leaving behind only this darkened, charred black land. And, you know, this isn't the only place where fires were burning today.
It was crazy.
Folks in this part of Hurricane are used to wildfires.
This is something we've dealt with 4 or 5 times in the last 10 years.
But Sandra Adams has had about enough of them, especially when someone is reckless and causes them.
If I lost this home, I could never replace what's in it. I raised my kids, you know.
That's how fire investigators say this 2,200-acre fire was started by someone doing something. They know where the fire started. They just don't know exactly how.
We're still under investigation trying to decide what exactly caused this fire. Something very minimal, apparently.
But that minimal something turned into a major fire. These are photos Adams took of it when it started Tuesday evening. Crews battled to keep it from getting into homes. Same as firefighters in St. George fought to keep flames from climbing this ridge and into homes. A spark from a highway construction crew welding signs on I-15 leaped into dry grass, turning a small brush fire into something crews had to get on fast. Fortunately, they were able to keep the fire from homes and had it controlled in less than an hour.
We'll be monitoring this throughout the evening and on into tomorrow morning, just make sure no hot spots spark up.
Fire crews just want to remind everyone of how dry conditions are out there this year, especially with the mild winter we've had here in Utah. It doesn't take much to get a fire going, like in this case, where a small spark could have brought down several high-priced homes. Bruce and Dini?
It's an early start to what could be a long season. Alex Cabero live in St. George. Thank you.
As fire crews work to contain those fires in southern Utah, Governor Gary Herbert's urging all of us to be especially careful with anything that might start a fire. News specialist Jed Bowles live to show us why.
Well, Deanie, it's these fine fuels like this grass that have already dried out. As Alex just mentioned, you add a spark and a breeze like we have tonight, and a fire can take off. No one wants to see this Memorial Day weekend. A year ago, flood danger was the fear, but fire danger intensified quickly this spring.
The public just needs to use common sense, be aware of the tinder-like conditions are out there. It's going to be a dry summer, and it's going to be a challenge for us with fires, wildland fires this year, more than we had last year.
Already, more than 120 fires this year.
Virtually all of them have been human-caused, which means they were all preventable.
Enough to scorch more than 3,000 acres.
But it is, it's looking really dry. This would burn, certainly.
Jason Curry with the Utah Division of Forestry gives me a closer look.
Things are very dry. You can see it. And judging by the fire behavior that I've seen so far this year, it's very extreme, a lot more active than we've had in the last couple of years.
Here are the biggest worries: campfires, debris fires, fireworks, and off-road vehicles, which can spark fires from a fuel leak or even parking on dry grass. And putting out fires is expensive, too. Utah spent more than $2 million fighting wildfires last year, and that was a low year.
We can replace houses, we can't replace lives. And so it's a public safety issue. And all of us have a role to play. We can always all help.
And make sure that you don't have any dead fuels too close to your home, because that can make your house catch on fire, too, if a fire comes through your area. We put some safety tips online at KSL.com. Deanie, Bruce?
Thank you, Jed Bull. The man accused of killing a 15-year-old Harriman girl says he's innocent and doesn't understand why he's still in jail. Daniel Ferry is suspected of murdering Ann Kasperzak in March and dumping her body in the Jordan River. He wrote a letter to the judge saying, "I'm no killer." On May 1st, Ferry was charged with kidnapping in another case. Since those charges, Ferry says he's being treated and held unfairly. Salt Lake County Prosecutor Sim Gill says the claims Ferry is making are false.
There is something in the water in Park City.
And it's killing fish in a pond in the middle of a neighborhood. News specialist Andrew Wittenberg is getting to the bottom of that story. Andrew.
The pond's owners and city officials are trying to figure out what killed those fish and what did it so quickly. Specifically, they were rainbow trout. At one time, about 125 of them lived in this pond, part of a stream running through this neighborhood. Today,
we came out this morning and every single one of them are dead.
Loretta Paulus and Shan Ingleby had raised them for nearly 5 years. Last night, everything seemed normal.
They were okay at about 6 o'clock yesterday because our neighbor had come over and fed them.
But when they came home, something seemed wrong. The fish were thrashing in the water, and according to Ingleby, they were trying to jump out of the pond. The homeowners raised the oxygen level in the water, thinking the fish were suffocating. Then this morning,
it was completely murky, like you would see at a swamp.
It took Park City fire officials more than an hour to take them away, and they still couldn't get them all. Ingleby spent the afternoon scooping them up out of the water.
Somebody did something to poison this pond and kill every living thing in it.
And while hazmat officials tested the water for chemicals, they're still investigating exactly what killed the fish. One possibility, according to Park City Police, is that some chemical added to the water upstream proved fatal. But at this time, there are no other wildlife impacted in the surrounding areas.
We just have no idea.
The homeowners say it could cost thousands of dollars to replace what they've already lost. In Park City, Andrew Wittenberg, KSL 5 News.
UTA wants to revisit its free fare zone in downtown Salt Lake City. The Utah Transit Authority says it's losing about $100,000 a year as a result of people riding buses for free. Free track service downtown is costing UTA as much as $900,000 a year. UTA officials say they want to start charging for bus service downtown as soon as August if they can persuade the city council, which has a contract with the transit agency.
Next on Eyewitness News, Bruce Lindsay calls it a career. Stay with us for a celebration of his legendary life in front of the lens.
Rekindle some memories you didn't even know you had.
Bruce Lindsay, a career celebrated, coming up next.
So Bruce and Shari, good luck down under. Those missionaries in Perth, Australia are so lucky to get you. Boy, do you bring with you a wealth of experience and insight and just plain old goodness. Good luck.
Bruce, you became a fond friend, and I wish you well, and I love you, pal. So good luck, Godspeed.
A career celebrated. 38 years, countless hours, thousands of scripts, and hundreds of stories. but just one Bruce Lindsay. Take away the set, turn off the lights, but the pure storyteller and consummate journalist remains.
This is dinosaur technology, but still, it involves telling stories, and we hope stories that people care about.
Making elaborate home movies as a kid, bringing the day's important events into each of our homes for decades. After 50 years of telling stories, it's the basic elements of his craft that still excite Bruce Lindsay.
When you put the words and the pictures together, there's a synergy, and you get something that's greater than the sum of its parts when it works well.
Ken Fairbanks wants to be a star named Ryan Gold.
Bruce has always distinguished himself as a wonderful writer.
But the urge and the tunes keep churning inside, crying to be free. And so he says what is foolishness to some is for him the breath of life.
I have never seen anyone who can tell a story better than Bruce Lindsay does.
450 tons of rolling iron power, hissing, breathing, clanking, boiling memories of our past.
Journalists, including myself, you have a question about what word needs to be used, what's the right word, what's the wrong word, go to Bruce, ask him.
Live from La Patinage du Centre Triade, which this idea of here it is live, that's something I've been able to watch and be part of that evolution.
Reporter Dwayne Cardall, who is speaking to us live via satellite from Jerusalem.
Just hold that shot, please.
We've long called Bruce Lindsay an anchorman, but he's been anything but anchored.
A major milestone in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is being marked at this hour in Tokyo, Japan.
It has been a chance to go farther places and meet people who I never would have met otherwise. We've been to the Far East, to Europe several times, Australia. During the run-up for the Salt Lake Olympic bid, there was a lot of travel. Previewed Norway, went to Lillehammer, previewed the other bid cities that Salt Lake was competing against. Sion, Switzerland, and Östersund, Sweden, and Quebec, Canada. Then following the Olympics to Japan, been to Japan on assignment 3 times.
He didn't just go out on stories, but he prepared to go out on stories. He didn't just do interviews, but he prepared in advance to do those interviews. And I think we all stood in a little bit of awe of what his abilities were.
I think he has led KSL in so many ways, other than just being in front of the camera, but led KSL to become one of the best TV news organizations.
Keep the faith, baby. He wants to be right. He's a real stickler for that. He just doesn't want to take anybody's word.
He never would overstep his bounds of saying more than what he knew or what we knew as a news organization.
I think trust is the greatest trait a reporter can aspire to. That people say, well, if he said that, it must be true. He doesn't just make it up. And I've tried very hard not to abuse that trust.
I remember watching him and thinking, that's the kind of journalist I want to be. I want to be good at what I do. I want to be fast like he is. I want to be a great presenter, a great broadcaster, a great writer. But first and foremost, it's about the journalism. It's about the content.
Kids right out of college that wanted to get a job, a lot of times they would go to Bruce to get the internship. He used to give them a current events test, and I think he was sort of infamous for his current events test. It was hard, and but he just expected that if you wanted to go into journalism, you ought to know this basic level of current events and geography and politics and political science.
There is an innate sense of what a good journalist is that isn't just on a piece of paper or resume. Well, Bruce Lindsay's name is at the top of that list.
We are dependent upon the good graces of the viewers, accepting us into their home. I mean, that's a very personal invitation. There's an off switch on that TV, and there are many other opportunities to change the channel. So I realize that the audience has been kind, has been gracious and accepting, and I'm very thankful for that.
And I'm just grateful that I had an opportunity to say I was a colleague of Bruce Lindsay's.
KSL was a better place with Bruce Lindsay. Salt Lake City was a better place with Bruce Lindsay, and we're going to miss him. He's an institution around here.
Couldn't agree more. Wow, here we are.
I'm very touched, and that's a little bit overblown, but thank you. I have wonderful colleagues, as you see, and it's been great.
Yeah.
It's time for the weather.
All true things. It is time for the weather.
You specialize in truth every single night of the year, right?
We got a good forecast for you tonight. Let's first go and show you Jay Dorschbach up and above the great city of Salt Lake City, showing you the beautiful city skyline. It's a great night. It's a cool day. A little cold front came through Utah this morning, and it dropped temperatures down into the 60s, even a few little showers, even a few little thunderstorms out over the Great Salt Lake this evening. KSL Vortex showing a few lightning strikes. Beautiful pictures. We always get fantastic shots. Keith Finlayson sending this shot in as the sunset illuminating the city skyline. Keith, thanks for sending in your picture. We love the pictures. A couple others that have come in over the last 24 to 36 hours. Emily Webb sending this shot in of a former anchor working at KSL, Bruce Lindsay in his younger days. Loved the haircut, Emily said. Frank Gibbs sending that shot in saying, didn't know where he came from, didn't know what he was doing, but that looked quite endearing. Frank loved it. And finally, Farmer McCarthy sending the shot in of our colleague, Bruce Lindsay. We're grateful to have worked with you, grateful to have shared with you. And Farmer says, hey, check the crops in Perth. They're going to be growing just fine. In fact, here's a look at the Perth forecast for tomorrow.
Hey, those are my people. Let's go.
You are headed to Western Australia.
Celsius.
Celsius, folks. 17 degrees. That's right. And Perth, 22. It's in the 70s, Bruce. You're going to love it there. Just like Salt Lake. Kind of. Enjoy that. Perth forecast looking great tomorrow. How about our forecast? A little different story. We've got the cold front that came through Utah. It's off into Colorado. We've got about a day and a half of in-between weather of cool temperatures. Winds will pick up, and then our next storm will come in, unfortunately, just in time for the weekend, and we'll talk about that in a minute. That high pressure now out of the way, and likely won't be coming back for at least a week or so. 48 degrees in Logan, 54 in Ogden. A few little showers, as I mentioned, out over the Great Salt Lake, as well as some showers moving through Grand Junction. That was part of the cold front that came through Utah today. St. George, 82 degrees. They were in the 90s again today with extra hot weather and lots of wind, fueling those fires and the dry conditions that will continue across the southern part of the state. This cold front slides off to the east. A few little thunderstorms out there tonight. They're dying down, but moisture continues as we watch not one but two pieces of this storm. Now, when storms break away from the jet stream, they get real squirrely, and this one's doing that. It's going to go south for a little while, then it'll turn the corner and come into Utah on Saturday. In the meantime, Friday, strong south winds will jump back up into the 70s temporarily ahead of that front and then drop back down on Saturday. Here's your forecast for Thursday. 77 Moab, 77 Blanding, 90 degrees Lake Powell. Lots of sunshine around in southern Utah. The winds likely not nearly as strong as we had them today, but it will still be a little breezy. 87 St. George, 92 Mesquite. 7-day forecast St. George, 87. It doesn't last. We'll slide back to 76 degrees. Extra cool for the start of the Memorial Day weekend in southern Utah, but we're right back into the 90s by Tuesday and Wednesday. Here's your forecast for northern Utah. 40 degrees overnight in Salt Lake, Ogden, 34 in Logan. Yes, 34 in Logan and 27 in Montpelier. Extra cool, 64 tomorrow, turns to 76 with the winds Friday. Ahead of that Saturday storm with rain, and some of that will continue into Sunday. Memorial Day Monday, 75 and sunshine. Now, we're not going to switch things to Celsius as you leave.
I can do that on the KSL weather app.
Yes,
while I'm in Perth, and I'll figure out what 22 Celsius is.
But we love
in the low 70s.
Love those viewer pictures.
Yeah, those were nice.
Thanks
Thank
a
you.
lot. Yeah.
Congratulations to tonight's winner of $500 from KSL-5. Visit us at facebook.com/KSL-TV for your chance to win.
Bruce, congratulations on a terrific career. You've achieved more than most in this industry can ever even dream upon. It was a joy, honestly, and a challenge to work with you every night. And I wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors. Best of luck, my friend. And yes, sports rules, and you know it.
Rangers Devils highlights coming up. It better go the right way.
Yeah, Tom Kirkland playing hooky to watch hockey tonight with his kids at Game 5 Rangers Devils in New York. New Jersey scored 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. Tom will not be flying home happy tomorrow. His Rangers lost 5-3 and trailed the series 3-2. And the Sixers beat the Celtics to force a Game 7 in the NBA playoffs. High school softball and baseball tournament semifinals today. We begin with the 4A girls softball. Murray and Roy. Spartans Kayla Dufresne, see ya. Solo shot, 2-0 Murray. But the Royals come right back. Bryce Mitchell, the base hit. Caney Haney coming in to score. Roy wins at 9-6 to move into tomorrow's championship game. Murray goes to the one-loss bracket tomorrow. 5A softball semis, Bingham, Copper Hills. Copper Hills takes the early lead. Aubrey Webb hits a long one to left field. Miners can't field it. 2 runs come in. Grizzlies go up 3-0, and Copper Hills pulling off the upset over the Miners 5-4 to move into tomorrow's title game. Bingham slides to the one-loss bracket tomorrow. 4A baseball, one-loss bracket. Winner moves on, loser done. Timpanogos Skyview. Timpanogos bases loaded. Sam Harris with a base hit brings in C.J. Schroppel. Then Tanner Perkins knocks in McKay Swope. Timpanogos with a shutout. And then the T-Wolves would come back to beat Mountain Crest late tonight. So Timpanogos plays tomorrow for the right to play in Friday's championship game. And Bowler, Jack is right. You know it. Sports rule. And I just have to say, when I was like 7 years old watching Channel 5, I always said, if I could sit on the same desk as Mark Croft, Paul James, Bruce Lindsay, and Dick Norris, I would have made it and become a success.
Got your bucket list.
There you are.
That's a high five.
Excuse us, Deanie.
Me too, yeah.
Well, you're not leaving.
No, I want part of it.
Dawes only news helicopter Chopper 5. Brought to you by Larry H. Miller Dealerships. Driven by you.
I get to claim the last word tonight. Like so much of the news, life is filled with beginnings and endings and changes in between. And I'm very lucky because even this ending is sweet. Thanks for all of the kindness this week, you guys. It's been overblown, but it's been very, very nice. I appreciate it. You need to know that I love and respect the people you see at this desk, the KSL people you see in the field, and all the people you don't see who do the heavy lifting all the time, all of my colleagues and friends who are engaged in this effort to bring you news and information that I hope has often been meaningful. Now, our efforts depend upon you, upon your inviting us into your home. Thank you for letting me in for so long. It was a privilege. I'm indebted to KSL for letting me fulfill so many of my dreams on its dime. Next week, you'll meet 2 new members of the KSL team. They are terrific guys. I like them a lot, and you will too. Now, here's a request. Do us all a favor and recognize 2 things. That in the stuff that makes news, there is so much that is good. Don't dismiss news as all negative. At the same time, have the courage to face up to the real problems and the hard issues in the news and see that aggressive reporting and questioning can help lead us to solutions. Partner with the media by holding us accountable, because serious information matters. Now, my wish for you is for your every happiness. Thank you for contributing so much to mine. And my family's in the studio tonight. Tomorrow at this time, I'll be home with my wife and with Robbie, and we're going to watch the sunset together. From all of us at KSL News, good night.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together?